Okay, we're joined today by a Manchester singer and songwriter who's made a real splash on the live scene, and in particular with her recent singles, has picked up a huge amount of praise. We're joined today by Ellysse Mason. Ellysse, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you.
Cool. You had a nice day? Been up to anything?
Just running errands, basically. Yeah, nothing exciting. No pop star things.
Thanks. Well, it's coming up to 5, 6 weeks since you released your latest single. Where were you? Looking back now, 5, 6 weeks later, what are your thoughts?
Um, to be honest, I'm just really happy that I am recording and getting music out there again. I'm really happy with the response from the single. I think it's done really well. Yeah, I think I'm just, because of like the pandemic and everything that's going on. I'm sure you've had a lot of conversations about that and how music's kind of stopped and this, that, the other. It's really nice. Like I see people releasing stuff again and just playing live again. I'm just glad to be a part of it, really.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that the first time you listened to that track after it had been recorded, mastered, mixed, what thoughts went through your head?
I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to actually producing my own work. So I never release anything until I've sat there and gone, I would dance around to this. I would listen to this. There's no point releasing your own music if you don't like your own music or you don't think it's good enough. So yeah, I always have to have a yes, this is 100% for me. Or it doesn't have to be, 100%. There's always room for improvement everywhere, and you learn as you go along, especially producing or writing or you're your own worst critic, so there's always going to be something. There's always going to be like, oh, I wish I wrote this better, or I wish this was better, or I wish I could have done this better next time. And yeah, I think it's such a learning curve, especially releasing music and doing it yourself. So yeah.
Yeah. And when it actually comes to writing music, I know you have quite an interesting approach in that you use mood boards. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Actually, the mood boards actually come later,
Oh,
a little bit later. I'm a big fan of the kind of old school, just sit on my bed with a guitar kind of writing. And the last couple of years, I've been introduced to the big music industry world, where we sit there with producers in studios and writing sessions, and it's such a great experience and I absolutely love it. But there's always like this massive place in my heart of I really just love writing in my room on my own. And weirdly enough, the writing process for Where Were You came after I'd watched on YouTube a live performance of Queen.
right.
Sounds nothing like Queen. Sounds nothing like Queen. But I watched it. I was so inspired, and then I sat down with my keyboard this time, and I was just like, I want to write this anthem right now. And yeah, so Queen inspired me to write that song, I guess, or the kind of sound that came from it at the time. But over time with production, it came to more of a bandy kind of sound. And then the mood boards actually come afterwards. So I like to visualize everything. I'm a very visual learner. I didn't learn this until maybe 4 years ago, when I had a pretty big writer's block, and I took a year and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. And I sat down and wrote a song, which we'll probably talk about in a minute, actually, because it's my next single. Um, and I realized that what really helps me is colors and visuals and just stuff like that, and to be able to have a story or just visualize things, especially color. Every song that I have has a certain color as well. Where We You was very green. The next one's very blue. I Don't Want to Dance was very red. So yeah, mood boards really helped to inspire me as well. I've actually got one on my wall right now. I don't think I could turn the camera to show you, but yeah, that's for my next single. And I look at that to get inspired.
Brilliant. And you mentioned there that you like to sit around, play guitar while you're writing, but your musical style has, I think it's safe to say, changed a bit over the last few years. Can you talk us through that change and how that happened?
Yeah, I mean, um I think I released an EP, I think, oh, maybe it was 2016, 2007. Oh no, 2018 maybe, called Hunt Me Down. And that was very, what people would describe as like cinematic folk pop, which is a very niche kind of genre, I guess. But I guess that's how I'd put it. And you know, I've always listened to pop music. I've always, you know, I've always had an eclectic kind of um taste in music anyway. And you know what, I can't put it as simple, I can't put it any more simple than I just wasn't loving the stuff that I was making anymore. I didn't think it was true to me anymore. It was at the time, but it's a simple thing of we grow older, we listen to different music, we're inspired by different things, we want different things, we want to dress differently, and I think it's okay to change. And I just had this really strong urge to go, actually I want to do more of an alt pop kind of synth guitar, like electric guitar based things, very inspired by like the 1975 and bands like that. And more recently another one called Dagny. I have a few references. Yeah, so I like to go that way. I'm very much stripped back when it comes to the writing process. So I'll do it on, it used to be a lot on acoustic and then on the electric, and now I'm going through a phase where I'm doing it on keys. It changes all the time, and I think it's good to change up the way that you write, it and listen to different things as well, and take inspiration from things that you wouldn't take inspiration from. I think it really makes you grow as a songwriter. Yeah, and then as I'm writing, I always have the production in mind already. I always have a vision of, I want it to sound this, I want the drums to come in here, I want this to come in there and there and there. And I do a lot of the time after that, then just do a demo on my computer and just get a little kind of idea or rough idea of how I want that song to sound.
Yeah, brilliant. And you touched on a moment ago with the next single. Uh,
Yes.
so you've got a new single coming out soon called Motel. Can you
Motel.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I am probably the most nervous and most excited about this song because it was the song that I mentioned before, where it was the first song I wrote after my huge writer's block. And I talk about that a lot because it just, my path just went, I'm going this way. This is the story I want to tell. This is the kind of feeling that I want to portray. This is how I want to make people feel. And a lot of the time, we kind of think, how does the song make us feel when we sing it? And I think that's really important. But what I wanted to do is make, like, kind of get into other people's heads and go, I want you to feel like this. I want you to listen to this song when you're in the car and you're going on this way. And yeah, I wanted to take people on a journey. And then I sat down on my keyboard and I wrote a song called Motel. And I've never been to a motel ever in my life. I've never even been to America. And the whole song was just inspired by American movies and road trips. And I did want to do a music video to it, but unfortunately that isn't going to happen at the moment, but it will do in the future. And it'd be like a bank robbery kind of thing, where we get away in an old American Mustang and then stay at a motel. And yeah, it was very inspired by that, but it had obviously deeper meaning behind it of kind of that chaotic, we want some chaos sometimes. And I write a lot about that, I think, and I don't realize that I'm doing it. I remember one of my other singles, Hunt Me Down, was a lot about chaos as well, kind of finding that chaos in things and finding excitement. And it's not always healthy, but hey ho, we're human, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this song's kind of like my baby, because it sets the tone for my entire kind of journey that I'm on now. So yeah, and that's getting released on the 3rd of September.
3rd of September, keep that date clear. Brilliant. And you mentioned this was the song that broke your writer's block.
Yeah.
So how did that happen then? How did you manage to get out of that?
I think it was the realization of visualization, really, because I wanted to tell a story and I didn't know that I wanted to tell a story, or the story I just hadn't really unlocked yet. And more of a journey, more of a feeling. I think I wanted to feel something that I wasn't feeling at the time, which was excitement, and writing things that would make people feel great, or excitement, or like they wanted to drive fast. And there's another kind of a weird one, but there's a song that I really, really love called, do you know Porcelain by Moby?
Mm.
Yeah, it's a very popular song, obviously, and I love Moby. And I remember it's one of my favorite songs to listen to when I'm driving or when I'm in someone else's car. And it's kind of going dusk, and I always have this feeling or emotion when I'm listening to it. And ever since then, I've tried to recreate that feeling within my music. So that's a very inspiring too. I haven't quite unlocked it yet because he's a genius, and I'm still in the bath. But yeah, I think that's how I connect things or look at things when I'm making the music. And that's when I started doing the mood boards for my songs and realizing, oh, like this just feels really blue and at dusk and this, that, and the other. And the mood boards help set the tone as well for the production and how I want it to feel whilst I'm producing, or more so when my producer is doing the songs. And it can be kind of frustrating for them as well. I feel like maybe I micromanage a little, and I'm just like, oh, this needs to be more this, and this needs to be feel more like this, and they're like, I'm technical, Ellysse, like I have no idea what you're talking about. So yeah, I let my emotions get in the way a little when it comes to producing my music too.
Do you have a little chart for them so they can match up all the colours that you're seeing when you're writing?
I actually did sit down with a producer once. This was ages and ages ago before I even knew. And we were producing a song. I was like, oh, you know what? It just needs a little bit more purple. And he just went, I understand. And it started, I have no idea what the connection there was. I have no idea. I just thought, oh, this needs to be more purple, this. And it's like, I get what you mean. So he must think in that way as well.
Brilliant. And who did you work with on the single?
On where we sorry, on Motel.
Yes, yeah.
Two different producers actually. So a producer called Matthew Garcia, who produced a lot of my older stuff like Hunt Me Down and You're Such a Fool, and I Don't Want to Dance, and all them. He started it, and then another producer mixed it and just kind of gave it a different kind of flair, because when I was producing Motel, I went through maybe 5 or 6 different producers to get the right producer to do it. So sometimes you do need a team or like a collaboration, and a lot of the times, especially producers, it does not work. But with this one, it just clicked and it worked so well to have 2 different flares. I feel like Matthew's very old school, very has so much talent, and he's so creative, and everything has detail, and you can tell that everything is thought about, and it's not, it's not just done in a day. It takes weeks, and you have to really appreciate that kind of skill. And then giving it to the other producer, Matt, he kind of brought it up to a little bit more modern, I should say. So kind of, and it just worked really well. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the process of making Motel. And when I finally got that song back, like the final mix, I was just like, it is ready. 3 years in the making and it's finally ready. So yeah, I'm very excited about this song.
Great. And the perfectionist inside you's happy with it.
Yeah, I promise I'm not that bad. Like, I'm not difficult. I know what I want. I think that's the thing that can be difficult sometimes, is that I really know what I want, and I'm very passionate about how I want things to sound. And sometimes I find it hard to communicate that, or I don't know how to do it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say, or how to do this. So
Now, I mean, when it comes to music, obviously a huge part of it is live music. And thankfully, live gigs are back. And when they returned, round of applause for everyone. When they returned, you were one of the first artists to play. You were straight back out at Manchester Academy, I think, weren't you? What was that like?
Manchester International Festival.
No, did you? I thought you played at Manchester.
Oh yeah, I played. I supported Billy Lockett there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah. That was a solo show. That was really good. It was such a huge venue as well, and it was still when there was you could only have like a certain amount of people in there. So I went in and I was like, oh my God, this is so big. I forgot what it felt like to play a show again. And a lot of it was very overwhelming. But then I got on stage and it's kind of like a muscle memory, isn't it? You kind of flow back into it. Yeah.
And then you're back again at Deaf Institute. You've got a gig coming up there. Do you want to tell us a bit about what to expect from that?
Yeah, so I'll be playing with two. So it's kind of like it's a giant headline between three people. I know that sounds like bizarre because only one person can headline, but it's not. Like the two fantastic musicians from Manchester that I've known for a while. Tim Gallagher, you might have heard of him. He's pretty big on socials at the moment too. And Mike Dignam, and they're both fantastic. And we came together and we're like, we want to do a giant headline. We want to put on a show. So we did. The ticket sold out in 2 days, which was just absolutely bizarre. And it's the first, apart from MIF Fest, it'll be the first gig really back with the band that I'll be playing like a bunch of my new songs and my old songs. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to that gig. And that's on Saturday, the 21st of August.
And what goes through your mind when you're on stage?
Oh, I'm terrified. I remember that feeling never leaves me. Honestly, it never leaves me. Even when because I've been on like the open mic circuit in Manchester, and every time those nerves never leave. You want to leave such a good impression that it, you always feel one bad gig and this that the other. But I've embarrassed myself so many times on stage, and it never really affects me. It never really phases me. But when I first get on, yeah, it's terrifying. I remember the first EP launch that I did, which was at the Deaf Institute as well. And I got on stage and the whole of my right arm just went freezing cold. I've never experienced like feel like it. Like, I can't seem to control those nerves, but there's nothing, even on the most stressful days of being a musician, which are quite stressful, they're kind of like the best days because you sit at the end and you're like, I'm so glad that this is what I get to stress about, which is great. And I think I get the same feeling when I'm on stage and, halfway through a song when you settle into it and you're just like, God, I love my job so much. I really enjoy it, never gonna give this up for anything kind of thing. And like the feeling you get when you come off stage is it's the best thing. Like live music is the thing I think I love the most and the thing I'm terrified of the most as well. Yeah, but there's no better feeling than coming off stage after a gig, and just kind of feeling that, oh, like that was incredible. Whether you did great or you messed up load, I think it's always incredible.
One other thing that you touched on a little while ago was social media. Um, you have built up a huge following on Instagram and particularly on TikTok.
Yeah.
How do you approach social media as a musician and incorporating that into what you do?
I think when I did it, it was during the first lockdown. So I could put all my effort into social media. And it's all I did because if you're any creative, like everything was shut down. You couldn't do anything. So you make the most of what you have. And the only thing that I had then was social media. I couldn't play live. I couldn't go to the studio. I couldn't make music at all. So yeah, I did that. And I think I've learned a couple of things. And the first one is you have to not be embarrassed by anything you put. When TikTok first came about, I didn't really know anyone that was on it. And a lot of people laughed at it. It was, not very it was very popular amongst the younger generation, but not amongst my friends. And I'm 26 now, so I'm not exactly 18 years old doing TikTok dances. And I just started posting and kind of learning the way of TikTok and realize that it was raw. It was coming away from that Instagram perfect model look and more into comedy and no makeup, no filter, but filter at the same time. And that raw material and the honesty of it. And I really, really liked it. And I was able to, kind of express myself a lot more in there because it was all video based. So it wasn't just pictures. I was able to talk to the camera. I was able to do little snippets of things. I was able to, show kind of like who I was. And, one of them caught and it got big, basically, of me playing guitar. Um, yeah, and it's really nice to see people sticking around, and that converted over to Instagram as well. And you just put up what you want, just keep throwing out the content that you have, and just show people who you are. If you're gonna be afraid to be who you are or embarrass yourself on the internet, then I'm sorry, but you can't be on there, because it's
Very
gonna
true.
happen. You're gonna get hate comments. There's always gonna be someone out there
Yeah.
that does not like what you're doing, and you've got to just go through that and honestly put in your 100%. And social media is a full-time job. You don't think it is, but it really is. And I find myself slipping in and out of it a lot, and I think that's okay to say. I think social media can be very draining, and people can expect things that you can't provide, or you're too busy doing other things. I think it's important to be very honest about that, and to kind of come away from it when you need to come away from it, and don't make it an unhealthy thing. I think I might have fallen into an unhealthy thing with TikTok. Say if views didn't get as big as they could have done, or like I got one nasty comment, and it kind of really brings you down, and you wonder, is this me? Is this, that, the other? But the algorithm's cruel, man. It's so cruel. They make you feel amazing, and then you're just like, next week's news. And I've learned to post genuine content when I want to, consistently if you can, obviously, and kind of play for the people that are there. Stop trying to get more followers,
Mhm.
because the passive people, they're gonna click follow, and then they're gonna move on, and only you really 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 care about your career. And so I now play and I post and I engage with the people that are there and that have stuck around, and it's really good to form a nice loyal fan base on there, and to see people sticking around and supporting me is just like the best thing, and it's so good for my mental health as well. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Ellysse, thank you so much for your time. As we say, new single Motel due out on the 3rd of
On the
September.
3rd of September,
3rd of
yeah.
September. We're looking forward to seeing that, and good luck with the gig and the single release. I'm sure it'll be fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Liam.